EY employs 130,000 people in assurance across 140 countries, whose jobs are fundamentally changing as AI transforms the audit profession from the ground up. So, how are they reskilling an entire workforce and attracting the right future talent in these disruptive times? Keep listening to find out. Support for this podcast comes from Eightfold AI. Eightfold AI's interviewer agent is transforming how organizations hire. Powered by Eightfold's Talent Intelligence Foundation, the AI interviewer is an autonomous and assistive agentic interviewer that thinks, adapts, and evaluates like your best recruiter, operating 24/7 across time zones and languages while assessing every candidate fairly and consistently. It works across the entire interview process, from initial screening to final assessment, enabling teams to make faster hiring decisions, deliver a seamless candidate experience, and complete interviews in under a business week so you can find your best fit talent. To find out more, just head over to eightfold.ai. That's eightfold.ai.
There's been more of scientific discovery, more of technical advancement and material progress in your lifetime and mine than in all the ages of history.
Hi there, welcome to episode 767 of Recruiting Future with me, Matt Alder. The assurance and audit profession is facing a talent crisis. Fewer graduates are choosing it as a career, and the perception of what auditors actually do hasn't kept pace with the reality. At the same time, AI is fundamentally reshaping the work itself, automating repetitive tasks and opening up entirely new service areas around cyber risk and sustainability. The profession needs different skills, different mindsets, and a completely different value proposition for the next generation of talent. So, how do you transform a workforce of over 100,000 people while simultaneously making the profession attractive to a generation that wants purpose, flexibility, and career agility? My guest this week is Sandra Oliver, Global Assurance Talent Leader at EY. In our conversation, she shares how EY is reskilling auditors at scale, bridging generational divides around technology adoption, and repositioning audit careers as a launchpad for business leadership. Hi, Sandra, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Matt. Great to be here.
An absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Please, could you introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do?
Sure. So I'm Sandra Oliver. My role is the Global Assurance Talent Leader at EY. So I am part of the Global Assurance Leadership Team, and I'm really focused on driving an integrated talent strategy that's focused on our supporting our business priorities and really transforming our workforce. And that represents more than 130,000 people in over 140 countries.
Fantastic stuff. So I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about generations in the workforce. So obviously, EY hires a significant number of graduates every year. You're sort of bringing Gen Z into the profession, into your profession at scale. What are you seeing in terms of different expectations, capabilities, things that are shaping accounting and insurance as a profession?
Yeah, so, we definitely are active hires of people from campus, And so we have a lot of younger professionals joining us. So Gen Z is a group we're very focused on. And when we think about that generation, they're very focused on professional development, career progression, mentorship. And they really have a more pragmatic approach to work-life balance and well-being. And really, we might call that work-life integration. But they're very focused on career and career agility. So what can their experience offer them today? What can they do, as they look to upskill themselves, particularly in this environment with, evolving technologies, which I know we'll talk about. And so when we think about recruiting them and attracting them to the profession, we have to be very focused on what the benefits of career and audit, bring more broadly. talking to this younger profession. And it's been a focus of ours at EY as well as the profession as a whole. And so when we think about that, it's really important that we emphasize the critical role that auditors play when it comes to building trust and confidence in capital markets and society more broadly. And so really telling the why and what we do and the value that brings to the clients and the broader marketplace is important. We're also, as I mentioned, just really thinking about the stress of the demands of the job in order to ensure that we're creating a better work-life balance for all our employees. And this, not only includes this includes several things. One in particular is just giving employees more access to mental health services, ensuring they have the support they need during intense and kind of higher hour time or stressful parts of the work of our work periods. We also think it's important to give people more flexibility and the opportunity to really take the reins of their careers in their own hands to make decisions about the things that they want to do, whether it's, client assignments or having a little more agility in navigating their career next steps and different opportunities within the firm. We also think it's really important that we kind of showcase that starting your career in audit is really a platform towards becoming a business leader. The knowledge that they gain by working in the various clients and industries and sectors, really can be, and have seen it be, enable people to really develop a strong business acumen. We are seen by companies that, they may want to go work for, and senior executives is really the training ground for their future. So we're really trying to highlight that value when we talk to them. The last thing I was just going to bring up was just how we look at not just the financial reporting of the audit, but also the non-financial. So when you think about sustainability and ESG and those types of things, it really shows the impact that the profession has on society. So those would be the things we focus on with this younger profession.
You mentioned technology kind of earlier in your answer, and I kind of want to dive in and talk about AI and what's going on in your profession. So obviously it's being integrated more and more into professional services work. How is that changing the day-to-day experience of the people working there, I suppose, particularly in terms of the types of tasks that they're focusing on? What is it changing?
Yeah, it's changing a lot, to your point. Really, when you think about, if I just think about the audit first, it has evolved significantly because with AI complexity, so do companies, the complexity of their financial statements and their processes also grows. We've seen our professionals not only deal with more complex audits, but also increased regulatory demands and rapid, technology changes that are happening at companies, potential cyber risks. But as I said, the AI impact we think is rather significant, but so are the opportunities. To your point, when you think about day to day and how that impacts our professionals, we are already seeing that, AI can handle a vast number of often very time-consuming and repetitive tasks. We've already been empowering our people to use AI throughout their work days and through their work responsibilities. But importantly, humans are still at the center of everything we do. So when we think about AI in the day-to-day, AI is complementary. It's not replacing the need for accountants or auditors, but it is absolutely enhancing their roles. So this is really, resulting in our professionals being AI empowered. The focus is on skilled auditors really overseeing work. That is where we see that in the future. And right now, AI can execute many tasks that are basic, repetitive, non-judgmental, objective work. And this really has been pivotal because we see this as a transformation that's really enhancing the experience for both our professionals and our clients. We are integrating AI into our workflows, and so when you think about that, that really allows our professionals to focus on the data, understanding it, providing, value and insight to our clients, strengthening the relationships with clients. So that really is our future shift to being a period of like where we're continuously audit real-time data and information.
I'd imagine that one of the biggest challenges is with the technology evolving so rapidly, it must be around learning and development in terms of how you make sure people have the skills they need to do this. I mean, to talk us through that aspect of it a little bit.
Yes, I mean, technology and then upskilling our professionals is really at the heart of our strategy. It's very important to us that we upskill everyone in AI and data analytics to make sure our auditors are, tech literate, tech expertise, and really meeting the evolving environment. And, we're doing this through several ways. We're doing this through AI learning maps. We have a program called EY Badges, which is a collaboration with champion networks where people can choose to upskill themselves based on how they identify their proficiency level. Hands-on practical experience is also very important. And these are a few of the ways that we are focused on it. But when we think about the priority of training our people, it really is having us rethink how we do learning overall. The AI capabilities that our people have will vary with our younger Gen Zs, of course, be much more digital savvy compared to more experienced people. But we are constantly thinking about that as we roll out our various generative AI tools and various analytics. Example of that being capabilities like our EYQ assurance knowledge, which we released this globally in 2025. That is really at all levels helps our professionals search and summarize EY technical accounting and audit content. So when you think about that, it's integrated into our workflow, into our EY Canvas platform. It really facilitates finding that information, very easily versus having to research it before. So, while we talk about learning, the hands-on experience of just using these tools is also a part of our continuous learning environment. So we've got continuous learning through experimenting with the tools. We've got online learning and various hands-on activation center sessions that we also hold for our people. And really, we're leveraging the AI-based platform that really exists every day and that our people have access to. So overall, when you think about learning, our assurance professionals receive about 10.7 million hours of learning this past year. 81 of those hours on average was in-person learning. So really, again, a deep focus on how we reskill and bring these tools to life for our people.
And you mentioned there that obviously you're doing this across the whole kind of spectrum of the organization, different levels, different generations, all that sort of stuff. Bring that to life for us a little bit more in terms of what have you had to be kind of aware of and how has that sort of panned out?
Yes, we are very focused on bridging, I guess you would call it the generational gap that exists within our workforce. And so we do try to cater to all our different the needs of our people, and noting that they may be different. So as I mentioned, our younger professionals that are digital natives, they use AI with ease. They're using it already in their personal life. So we definitely are focused on how do we remind them and train them on the responsible use of AI? How should it be used in the audit? And we're doing that through our mandatory learning, core learning. And it's not just technical, but again, it's real life examples on how do you use the tools? How would you engage with the client using AI? How do you really just bring it to life through your everyday? And when you think about the more senior executives at the firm, they are not as tech savvy. They are not as comfortable in the tools. And so some of the things that we're doing in addition to the mandatory learning and the badges that I mentioned is, first of all, making sure they understand it's a priority as leaders, that they upskill themselves. Status quo won't work, and hoping that, AI goes away and doesn't have the impact that we know it'll have isn't going to work. And so ensuring they understand the focus, the priority, as well as pairing them with younger professionals. We've really found that doing some things like reverse mentoring has really brought to life how to use it, learning from our younger professionals on the way they think about AI and they think about engaging it has really been a great way to kind of bridge the generational gap. But overall, all of our people at all levels are receiving, mandatory in-person learning as well, to ensure that they see how the tools are to be used and the responsible use around it.
Coming back to something that you talked about right at the beginning of the conversation, which I want to dig into a little bit more, and that's about the role that purpose and meaningful work play in careers in your sector to attract that new talent in. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes. So, I think if you would have talked to my colleague, which you might have, or any colleague at the Big Four firm over the last several years, a big focus of us across the profession has been on attracting talent and really ensuring that, the accounting profession is seen as a sought after profession. And when you look at various surveys out there, whether it's the Global Accounting Alliance survey in February 2024, or, looking at U.S. CPA exam candidates in the last, 17 years, you'd see that the accounting, profession has declined in attractiveness. So when you think about those studies and the focus we've had is really how do we start to change the perception of accounting and auditing to our younger people so that they continue to see the profession to be more attractive. And certainly the ability to have a broader impact outside of the financial statement audit, as I talked about, is a big piece of that. When you think about the transformation that companies are under, the risk profiles are changing. So with technology, with the use of AI, we see the opportunity to provide more test services around companies' use of AI. We see the potential risks of cyber going up, which are going to change the type of work we do. We know that the focus on doing this type of work, and in addition to governance of things outside the financial statements around ESG, will continue to be a big focus. And when we think about that and what our people want, to have a broader impact on society and capital markets, we think this is going to really tie to the attractiveness.
As a final question, if we started to look 3 to 5 years ahead in the future, how do you see careers in this sector evolving? So you've sort of talked about some of the changes just then, but if someone was sort of coming in and joining now, what might things look like in 3 to 5 years' time in the future?
Yes, so I'm very excited to see the evolution of the career in audit over these next 3 to 5 years, because I think it's going to change it for much more positively. And when we think about, and at a fast pace. So, when we think about the traditional accountants or auditors that maybe just were strong accountants, we're going to see everybody to be much more tech savvy. They are going to have a deeper knowledge of businesses that they support, the capital markets they operate in. I think they're going to be very curious about technologies and agile around embracing, different technologies that continue to arise. We'll likely see a significant use of AI throughout all aspects of the financial statements for companies, and so that's going to require that AI be used at large scale across the audit. Large amounts of data, will be very data driven. We already are today, but the pace for which we will be, that we will be able to analyze and audit data will increase dramatically. We are already seeing that as we think about, the quality of the analysis that we do, the interpretation of how we can take that information, provide insights, look for risks, share that with companies and their finance functions to really think about predictive analytics instead of being so historically focused. We'll use this large scale data to really think about what should we see instead of what did we see or why didn't we see it. As I mentioned briefly, there'll be a greater focus on non-financial information. Stakeholders and companies are increasingly interested in the impact of companies on the environment, society, governance. So that'll continue to increase. Changing regulations as business practices and technologies evolve, the regulations are going to change with them and the governance requirements around them. So I think that'll be very important for auditors to stay up to date with those changes. There'll be more demand for transparency. That stakeholders are continually asking for more transparency in their financial reporting. So that will need to evolve as companies think about the impact of AI to their financial statements and the way judgments are determined to ensure that those are clearly shared with stakeholders. And that all of these things will really require a skill set evolution. This will continually ensure that future auditors are really continually upskilling themselves and, be more advanced in data analytics skills, as well as understanding latest technologies and industry trends. And the last thing I would maybe point out is that it's really going to allow us to be in a mindset and a practice of continually auditing. This will shift from annual audits kind of being very back-end focused, after year end, to continually auditing with real-time identification of issues, which will be a real shift from traditional audit practices. So I believe, all of these changes are going to be extremely positive for companies, capital markets, and really embed a truly data-driven audit that I think will be very attractive for our profession.
Sandra, thank you very much for talking to me.
Great. I enjoyed it. Thanks for inviting me.
My thanks to Sandra. You can follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can search all the past episodes at recruitingfuture.com. On that site, you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter, Recruiting Future Feast, and get the inside track on everything that's coming up on the show. Thanks very much for listening. I'll be back next time, and I hope you'll join me.
This is my show.